Min Kyung went through a terrible relationship. She was deceived by a married man who also secretly filmed her private moments. When she tried to break up, that jerk beat her up badly. Since that day, she was deeply traumatized. She moved to a new city and avoided all contact with people. Every time she went outside, she wore a flower in her hair and pretended to be crazy so people would stay away, until an unexpected man showed up and completely changed her miserable life. Huio might have been the unluckiest guy in the world. Small things in life always went against him. That day, Huio tried to get off the bus, but a woman blocked the way. He went to the front door, but it was already closed. He ran to the back, but the bus started moving, so he had to wait for the next stop. Then it started pouring rain. He saw an umbrella on the ground and thought he got lucky, but a sudden gust of wind broke it into pieces. He tried to light a cigarette to calm down, but the lighter didn't work. Even worse, water from the roof poured down and soaked him completely. On his way home, he accidentally tripped and dropped his slipper. Min Kyung happened to be walking behind him. He asked her to kick his slipper over this way. She did so, but it flew across the street. Back at the apartment, Huio cut his finger while closing the umbrella. He got mad and beat up the umbrella, then stormed toward the elevator. Min Kyung saw him again and thought he was stalking her. She rushed into the elevator and hit the close button, but Huio squeezed in just in time. Min Kyung raised her umbrella and kept hitting him, forcing him out. Huio was so annoyed by this awful day. He punched the air out of anger. Later, he tried to cheer himself up with food, but got the worst curse. His ramyeon had no seasoning packet. Huio went to the cashier and asked to exchange his ramyeon. She refused, saying opened items couldn't be returned or exchanged. Seeing he still arguing, she turned on a recorder and even threatened to call the police. Defeated, Huio went back to his seat and ate the plain, tasteless ramyeon. Only after finishing did he find the seasoning packet hidden at the bottom. Suddenly, his stomach twisted in pain. He rushed to the cashier again, begging to use the restroom. Again, she refused and threatened to call the cops. He had no choice but to run home, weak and in pain. When he reached his building, the elevator had just left. Holding his butt, he struggled to climb the stairs. Back home, he dashed to the restroom, only to find his father sitting on the toilet. He begged his father to hurry up, but his mother grabbed him, asking what was wrong. When the door finally opened, Huio rushed in, but his father pulled him out, scolding him for being disrespectful. In the middle of their struggle, Huio couldn't hold it anymore. The room went completely silent. Later, he went to a public bath to clean himself. Then it hit him. All this bad luck started after he met that crazy woman. But in Min Kyung's eyes, Huio was the scary lunatic. She went to a therapist and said a crazy man had been following her from the front. The therapist was confused. Shouldn't a stalker follow from behind? Then Min Kyung started sharing her own terrifying experiences. From the bus stop, the man walked ahead of her and followed her all the way to her apartment building. He looked angry and even tried to assault her. Luckily, she had an umbrella with her. Otherwise, something bad could have happened. After hearing the story, the doctor smiled and quickly wrote paranoia on her chart. After leaving the hospital, Min Kyung went to a convenience store. Coincidentally, Huio was there too. She couldn't believe the creep was still following her, so she rushed to the counter to pay. Before leaving, she warned the cashier to be careful of the man behind her. That's why the cashier always avoided Huio and acted so cautious around him. On her way home, Min Kyung suddenly heard a strange scream. She saw Huio getting closer, so she walked faster. Then she ran into the elevator and closed the door just in time. But she didn't expect Huio to move so fast. Panicking, she unlocked her door and rushed inside. By coincidence, Huio lived next door. Late at night, the cashier ran into a flasher on her way home. She quickly took a photo, but forgot to turn off the flash. He charged at her and tried to grab her phone. Her screams brought a nearby guard, and he ran away. Meanwhile, Min Kyung was sorting trash. A stray dog caught her attention. It ran into the parking lot. She chased after it and found it under a car. Just then, she sensed danger. The scary man appeared again. This time he was wearing an ankle monitor. Terrified, she ran to the security camera and shouted for help. Then she saw a dash cam and jumped onto the car, yelling. Huio panicked and begged her to get down. because that was his favorite car. Later, they went to the police station. Huio accused Min Kyung of hitting him with an umbrella during the day and stepping on his car for no reason at night. These two charges could send her to prison for at least 8 years. Min Kyung immediately defended herself. She said Huio had been following, threatening, and harassing her. Huio told the cop that she might have mental problems. Min Kyung then said he was a dangerous criminal because he was wearing an ankle monitor. Huio laughed and explained it was just a locker key from the bathhouse. He had no idea he was still wearing it. Min Kyung also said he looked like a wanted man, especially when he pushed his hair back and widened his eyes. The cop stepped in and said this was just a misunderstanding. He confirmed the two were neighbors and asked them to apologize and settle it peacefully. Just then, another cop came in and greeted Huio warmly. It turned out Huio used to be a cop too. During a drug bust, he was attacked by a dealer. His partner got seriously hurt trying to stop the criminal. Huio, who had anger management issues, almost beat the criminal to death. Later, the dealer used legal loopholes to walk free. Huio lost his job, and his fiancée broke off the engagement. Min Kyung secretly listened to the whole story. Outside the police station, Huio asked Min Kyung for her phone number. She looked wary, thinking he was up to something again. Huio explained he only wanted it for the settlement money. He added that the moment he saw the flower in her hair, he realized she was completely nuts. He warned her not to mess with him again, or he might do something terrible. But Min Kyung didn't back down. She mocked him, saying maybe his fiancée dumped him just because he couldn't control other things. Then she walked away, satisfied. 2 colleagues held Huio back before things got worse. Min Kyung took photos of the criminal at the door, and also took a picture of Huio. She said if anything happened to her, those photos would be used as evidence against him. Huio said she was violating his privacy, so he started recording a video to protect himself. Min Kyung grabbed his phone and threw it away. Huio had no idea how to deal with this crazy woman, but they walked the same way home, so he had to keep his distance. Before opening the door, Min Kyung gave him a hostile look and told him to go in first. The next day, Huio visited his therapist, who also happened to treat Min Kyung. She advised him to avoid situations or things that triggered him to get angry, which would be good for him. Right after the session, Huio ran into someone dangerous. He quietly went to the front desk to pay, only to realize Min Kyung had just left. He was relieved until he saw her waiting outside. They started arguing again after a few words. Luckily, a nurse called Min Kyung's name, so the fight stopped. Later, Huio went to a convenience store and saw the same cop from before. During their talk, the cashier was surprised to learn that Huio was also a cop. They warned the cashier to watch out for a flasher nearby, then left. While waiting for the elevator, Huio ran into Min Kyung again. He tried to wait for the next one, but she didn't press the floor button, so they were forced to stay in the same space. After that, whenever Huio saw Min Kyung, he stayed far away. Even at the clinic, he left the moment he saw her. That night, Huio was enjoying a burger at the park when he ran into Min Kyung walking her dog. She tried to ignore him, but the dog was drawn to the smell of food. She stopped it and told it the food was dirty and could kill it. Huio was tired of running into her all the time, so he offered to lower the repair costs, but only if she agreed to switch clinics, because that was the only clinic nearby with a female doctor, and at least he could control his anger in front of women. Min Kyung thought he was making excuses and mumbled, "Crazy jerk." Hearing that, Huio got mad right away. Min Kyung quickly took out her phone to record. Huio didn't want to get trapped again, so he held back his anger. He said the offer was off the table and told her to sell everything valuable to pay the settlement money. Min Kyung quietly noted this as proof of his threats. Back home, she noticed her neighbor's Wi-Fi named Crazy X in Unit 506 with the flower in her hair. She fought back and changed hers to Crazy Bastard in Unit 507 with anger issues. Then she smiled proudly. Just as she was about to sleep, she smelled gas. She immediately opened the windows and checked the stove, but the valve wasn't even on. The next day, she visited her therapist. She insisted she really smelled gas and imagined all kinds of leak scenarios. The doctor encouraged her to trust herself, saying it would help her feel better. Then, Min Kyung remembered the days with her ex. Back then, she felt loved, confident, and happy. Now, she couldn't trust herself anymore. The doctor diagnosed her with depression from the breakup and gently asked if she still missed him. Min Kyung firmly replied that she hoped he would die in the most painful way possible. The security guard put up a notice saying a pervert had been seen near the apartment. Meanwhile, loud knocking woke up Huio. The president of the Women's Association asked him to join the neighborhood patrol. She wanted him to catch the pervert using his police skills. Even though Huio kept refusing, but in the end, he unwillingly joined. While on patrol, Huio saw Min Kyung in a restaurant. They mocked each other like kids. Then, a former co-worker recognized Min Kyung and greeted her warmly. But as soon as Min Kyung left, the girl whispered to her friend that Min Kyung looked nice, but had done dirty things behind the scenes. She said Min Kyung ruined another woman's family and tried to marry a married man. Min Kyung heard everything and burst into tears. Years ago, she had met that man's wife. Only then did she realize the scumbag had lied. He was never divorced. The wife had poured coffee on her head and cursed her for being shameless. Min Kyung held back tears and went back to work, but co-workers kept gossiping. She saw Seon Ho calling and hung up right away, but he kept bothering her like a ghost, even saying his wife was crazy. Min Kyung mocked him, saying he was nothing without his wife. Then she walked away. What she didn't expect was Seon Ho had secretly filmed her private video and used it to force her into his car. On the road, another car suddenly cut in front. Seon Ho lost control and exploded in anger. Min Kyung was terrified. She begged him to delete the video. He ordered her to stop looking down and mocking people because it made him feel awful. But the more she apologized, the crazier he got. In the end, he dragged her into a dark alley and beat her badly. From that day on, Min Kyung stopped trusting any man. That's why she was always so hostile toward Huio. Meanwhile, the patrol team caught a suspicious man. But after a closer look, the cashier said his height and face didn't match the pervert at all. It turned out the young man also lived in the neighborhood. Everyone stared at him strangely, but he didn't bother to explain and just left. Some women still wanted to call the police because there had been cases of men sneaking into women's restrooms in disguise. Huio told them the young man just liked wearing women's clothes and makeup, but didn't harm anyone. Then he told everyone to leave. When he got home, he saw Min Kyung banging on his door like crazy. She was crying and begged for help. Her dog was missing. He guessed it just went out to play and would come back, and that dog always barked at him and even bit him, so he refused to help. Suddenly, Min Kyung remembered his threats and believed he did it to get back at her. Huio quickly showed his alibi, saying he had been on patrol all day. Hearing that, she begged again. She promised to switch clinics and avoid him on the streets, but he was too tired and still said no. Min Kyung mumbled something about the hood, mirror, and door, then ran downstairs. Huio felt something was wrong. He rushed after her and agreed to help. They went to the building's security room. Since Huio used to be a cop, the guard allowed them check the camera footage. After spotting the dog, Min Kyung ran to the park and rescued it from two kids. She yelled so loud that the kids started crying. Huio had to calm them down and say sorry. Seeing that, Min Kyung felt guilty. She bought candy for the kids and asked why they took the dog. The kids said they just wanted to pet it, but she wouldn't let them before. She apologized for scaring them and told them not to tell their mother what happened. Later, she gave Huio a small gift and promised to change her counseling dates. Besides that, Huio also got priority use of the elevator. He felt great, but Min Kyung looked uneasy because someone seemed to be watching her. The next day, Huio went to the hospital. When he saw how badly his partner was hurt, he felt really guilty. He blamed himself for acting recklessly, but the colleague told him it was the drug dealer's fault. He also accidentally mentioned that the dealer's products were being sold on a chatting app these days. After getting the clue, Huio pretended to be a girl and contacted the dealer, setting up a meeting for 8 p.m. But there was a problem. He had to actually look like a woman. So, he found the young man who liked cross-dressing and asked for help. While getting makeup done, Huio wondered if the man was gay. The man said he wasn't sure. He just liked dressing up as a girl. An hour later, Huio turned into a stunning woman. Even he was shocked by how pretty he looked. That night, he showed up at the meeting spot. Soon, a guy appeared. After exchanging code words, they agreed to go somewhere else for the deal. Huio took the chance and tried to arrest him. But in a twist, the guy turned out to be an undercover cop. The team leader warned Huio not to get involved in the case, or he'd be charged with drug dealing and obstruction. Then he jokingly said Huio's makeup looked nice and suggested he keep that look. Meanwhile, Min Kyung went out to buy dog snacks. She thought she ran into a pervert and fell to the ground in fear. Huio explained he was just in disguise and asked if she was okay. Suddenly, she stood up and hit him in the neck with a stun gun. Huio twitched, but then realized the stun gun had no power. Min Kyung immediately shouted for help, drawing a patrol team. The association president recognized Huio. She didn't expect him to be this kind of person. No matter how Huio explained, they didn't believe him and even took him to the police station. When the captain arrived, he was furious. He yelled at Huio for causing trouble and ordered him to put his legs together and drop the disguise. Only then did the women believe Huio was undercover in disguise. Before leaving, the captain warned Huio again. If he kept investigating without permission, he would never get his job back. Min Kyung felt guilty. If it weren't for her, Huio wouldn't be in this mess. Suddenly, it started to rain. Huio walked home, heartbroken. Min Kyung came over with an umbrella and said it was all a big misunderstanding. Huio didn't understand what he had done wrong to deserve how she treated him. He cried, saying he helped her find her dog and did so much for her, but she still kept making trouble. He swore that if he talked to her again, he'd be a dog, not a man. Min Kyung didn't say a word and walked away, feeling down. Suddenly, she noticed someone following her. A man rushed in front of her and stripped off all his clothes. She screamed in fear. Huio heard it and ran over right away. After making sure she was okay, he took a shortcut, chased the pervert, and caught him. Min Kyung arrived and called the police. After leaving the police station, things got better between them. Min Kyung stopped thinking Huio was a bad guy and opened up to him. She said her illness made it hard to trust anyone, and when she got scared, she couldn't breathe. Huio told her that she could count numbers while breathing deeply. Then he showed her how it's done. Min Kyung's heart started racing for no reason when she saw how serious he looked. That night, Huio couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about how she grabbed his arm. Min Kyung also had trouble sleeping. She used his breathing method and slowly fell asleep. The next day, the doctor noticed both Min Kyung and Huio were getting better. This meant their bond was growing stronger. While watching an action movie, Min Kyung kept thinking about Huio fighting the pervert. She even pictured him as the cool hero. She thought she must be going crazy. Later, she ordered 2 lunches and put Huio's address on purpose, because she wanted to eat at his place. Seeing her cute face, Huio couldn't help but smile. But soon he started to wonder if she poisoned the food. Min Kyung said she just wanted him to teach her how to defend herself. Huio refused at first, but gave in when she begged sweetly. He taught her the simplest move: clench the fists, quickly move the elbows back and front, then run. But Min Kyung didn't want to run away. She wanted to learn how to knock someone down in one blow. Huio thought for a second, then stood up. He told her to hold the guy's shoulders and hit his balls with her knee. Min Kyung was intrigued and wanted to give it a try. Huio sensed danger and said no. Only after she promised not to kick him, he agreed to help her practice. But what he feared still happened. He fell to the floor in pain, groaning. He struggled and told Min Kyung to get lost. At night, the delivery guy brought 2 dinners again. Min Kyung peeked out to check. Huio warned her not to think food could make things right. Min Kyung didn't say a word. She just took 1 meal and left. When Huio opened the lunchbox, he felt offended. Later, he went to the convenience store to buy some snacks. The cashier gave him extra food to thank him for catching the pervert. Just then, Min Kyung showed up. Huio quickly packed the food and left. But she still pestered him, asking when he'd teach her more self-defense moves. Huio refused and told her to stay away. He said if they kept hanging out, he might end up hurt or even dead. Min Kyung called him a jerk for always changing his mind. She angrily said she'd never talk to him again. But when they reached the elevator, she suddenly smiled and called him honey. Huio was confused until he saw a suspicious man, so he pretended to be her boyfriend and got in the elevator together. The man stayed silent and followed them. Suddenly, he put on a cape and walked past them. It turned out that he was dressed as a superhero to surprise his kids. To ease the awkward mood, Huio asked Min-kyung what she wanted for lunch tomorrow. He reminded her to eat well, because tomorrow's training would be tough. The next day, they went to a park and started with basic fitness. Then he told her to run like she was in real danger. He chased after her, pretending to be a pervert. She got scared and ran faster, but when she looked back, Huio was gone. Since his acting was too real, a few helpful citizens stopped him. Min-kyung pretended not to know him and ran off playfully. With Huio by her side, her mental health slowly got better. Not long after, Min-kyung got a registered letter from court. It was sent by her ex-boyfriend. She called the court and said she didn't want to settle. She also complained that her address had been leaked. The court said they never give out addresses without the victim's permission. They guessed it was leaked by accident. Terrified of her ex's revenge, Min-kyung called the landlord and tried to cancel her lease. But before she could move out, a strange man came to her door and even tried to unlock it. She calmed herself and carefully opened the door. It was a realtor showing the place to a new tenant. Min-kyung said it was too late and told them to come back during the day. The realtor explained most people only had time after work. She warned that if Min-kyung didn't cooperate, it would only delay her moving day. With no choice, Min-kyung let them in. But the realtor told the new tenant the young lady lived alone. That made Min-kyung nervous, so she kicked them out. The next day, she saw a pair of men's shoes near the trash. She quietly picked them up when no one was looking. The women of the association saw it and wondered why she was picking trash. Huio overheard them and realized the shoes were his. He angrily went to her place. When Min-kyung heard the knock, she pretended to be talking to her boyfriend. Hearing that, Huio apologized for disturbing them. Then he asked her to return his shoes. Min-kyung didn't want to, but still gave them to him. Later, she tried to change her door lock code, but it broke. Just then, Huio walked out. He saw she was in trouble again and offered to call a locksmith. As he was about to leave, he saw her squatting at the door. Feeling bad, he told her to wait at his place. Min-kyung sat quietly on his couch and soon fell asleep. Just then, Huio's mother walked in and was surprised to see a pair of women's shoes. She carefully stepped inside and saw a young, pretty girl. She was secretly happy and went to prepare lunch. When Min-kyung woke up, she quickly said hello and explained she lived next door. But Mistress Kang was sure she was Huio's girlfriend and told her to stay for dinner. Right then, Huio came home. He was confused why Min-kyung was still there. Mistress Kang ignored him and started asking Min-kyung about her birthday. Sensing something was off, Huio kicked Min-kyung out right away. Mistress Kang reminded him to take care of her, saying women living alone are often scared. That night, while lying in bed, Huio suddenly realized Min-kyung took his shoes to protect herself. So he brought a big box over and filled her room with his stuff. That way, if bad guys came, they'd think Tyson lived there and run away. Min-kyung was touched by his kindness. They drank together. After a few drinks, she opened up and talked about the married jerk. When things didn't go his way, he would suddenly change. He even accused her of knowing he was married but still seducing him and ruining his family. So he beat her badly, saying she deserved it. Others also called her mean and disgusting. Huio told her not to listen to people like that. Because she was so pretty, they were jealous. Min-kyung was touched. She decided to go crazy and let herself go from now on. She then stared at Huio and asked if he wanted to sleep with her tonight. Huio was offended and called her a crazy woman. Back home, Min-kyung couldn't calm down. Then the doorbell rang and scared her. It was Huio. He asked if she had turned off the gas and closed the windows. She nodded. He used the chance to tell her to believe in herself. He said a strong woman like her couldn't be fooled by anyone, so she had done nothing wrong. She shyly closed the door, but soon she opened it again and asked him if he wanted to come over for ramyeon. Huio wanted to know what she meant. Min-kyung explained that when a woman invited a man over for ramyeon, it often means something more. Huio stayed calm. He never took advantage of a drunk or unstable woman. Min Kyung stopped joking and acted normal again. Then, they spent the evening happily eating ramyun together. The next morning, a sour smell woke Huio. He sleepily stepped outside and saw a strange woman staring at him. It was Min Kyung's mother. She had been searching for Min Kyung for a long time and finally found her. Seeing the messy house, she scolded her daughter being so easy, and that's why she got fooled by men. Min Kyung didn't understand why her mother blamed her for everything. Angry, she shouted that she was the one who seduced Huio. Mistress Gil yelled, "Can't you live without a man?" and hit her. Meanwhile, Huio stood by the door, quietly listening. Mistress Gil told Min Kyung to drop the lawsuit and settle the matter. Min Kyung couldn't believe her mother forgave that kind of man. Mistress Gil said she just wanted her daughter to stop hiding and relying on sleeping pills to live. Bring her into the world to see her waste her life like this. Min Kyung broke down and said, "Then you shouldn't have given birth to me." That sentence deeply hurt Mistress Gil. No mother ever wants something bad to happen to her child. Huio tried to comfort her, but she ordered him to lead the way. Ms. Gil warned him, if he looked down on her daughter just because she was mentally unstable, he would regret it, because she'd tear apart anyone who hurt her daughter. However, Huio stuttered, saying Min Kyung was just like her, both too beautiful. The compliment softened Mistress Gil a little. She admitted she regretted not trusting Min Kyung when people misunderstood her. She said she had trouble trusting anyone, but now Huio was the only one she could trust. She begged him to take good care of her daughter, but Huio told her that the person she should trust was her daughter. He said Min Kyung was strong and doing well on her own. He believed everything would be okay. Later, he told Min Kyung that her mother had gone home. She nodded, then suddenly mentioned she would walk her dog at 4 p.m. Huio got the hint right away. He hurried home, dressed up carefully, and waited outside his house early. They spent a happy afternoon together. He gave her a whistle and told her to blow it if she was in danger, and he would come right away. Soon after, a realtor brought an old lady to see the house, but Min Kyung didn't seem to want to rent it out anymore. After they left, the old lady returned, claiming she forgot her phone. In fact, she wanted to talk to Min Kyung privately. She was Seon-ho's mother and wanted to apologize for her son's behavior, but Min Kyung firmly refused to reconcile. Mistress Lee said that she had a daughter and understood how Min Kyung must feel in this situation. She suggested that Min Kyung marry Seon-ho, claiming that everything would get better then. Min Kyung fought back tears. She wished that Mistress Lee's daughter would experience the same deceit, humiliation, violence, and blackmail. Mistress Lee continued to beg. She promised that if Seon-ho was released, he would apologize on his knees and spend his life making up for it. But Min Kyung stood firm and warned her not to show up again. Then she hurriedly left the cafe. On his way home, Huio heard the whistle. He searched around and finally found her hiding in a corner. At first, he thought she was playing a prank, but quickly realized she really needed help. Min Kyung leaned into his arms and promised not to run away again. Huio hugged her tightly. Later, he asked why she decided not to move out. She said when she decided to leave, it kind of bothered her, because the Women's Association offered her a position and she felt bad turning them down. Meanwhile, a member of the Women's Association saw a post about Min Kyung's scandal. She immediately shared it to a mother's community. Soon, the whole neighborhood knew. When the president heard the news, she decided to confront Min Kyung to ask if it was true. Meanwhile, Mistress Lee showed up again. She asked Min Kyung how much settlement money she wanted to drop the case. Min Kyung angrily shouted that she wanted all of their assets. Just then, the women from the association arrived. Mistress Lee started accusing Min Kyung of seducing her son for money, ruining his family. Min Kyung yelled at her to leave and stormed off. The women were even more convinced the rumors were true. They threatened Min Kyung to move out immediately. They couldn't let a home wrecker live in their apartment. Min Kyung walked away feeling hopeless. She then found her personal information exposed online and was terrified. Meanwhile, Huio saw the post too. He explained to the women that it was not true and scolded them for believing unverified rumors. Later, he found Min Kyung at a restaurant. He asked her why she ran away and why she didn't tell everyone the truth. Min Kyung explained she tried, but nothing worked. That old lady even came to her office and spread nonsense. No matter how much Min Kyung denied it, no one believed her. Hui-Oh firmly told her he would always stand by her. He held her hand and told her not to be scared anymore, because he could beat all those women on his own. Meanwhile, the president tried to find the person who wrote this post about Min Kyung to fact-check it. Soon, they traced the IP address and found it came from their apartment. One woman finally admitted she posted it, but claimed she just copied it from somewhere else. Then, the young man found out the original post, and all the hateful comments came from the same IP address. Just then, the cashier remembered hearing their conversation while working part-time. The women realized they had misunderstood Min Kyung. It was all the sneaky old hag's doing. The next day, while Min Kyung was walking with Hui-Oh, they ran into the women again, but this time, they came to apologize and sincerely invited Min Kyung to join their association. She said it was fine now that they knew, but the women didn't want to let it go that easily. They decided to teach that evil old witch a lesson. Mistress Lee noticed trouble coming, so she moved to a quieter place to talk. The women said they were there for revenge on Min Kyung's behalf. Mistress Lee mocked them for having nothing better to do and being way too nosy. The women laughed and said that was true. They had lots of free time, so they planned to go around her neighborhood and tell everyone why her son ended up in jail. Mistress Lee quickly changed her attitude and asked what they wanted. They told her to delete the post and never come near their neighborhood again. That evening, the women threw a welcome party for Min Kyung. She quickly got along with everyone. After drinking too much, she kept blowing her whistle. Hui-Oh rushed over in a panic. He scolded the women for getting her that drunk and took her home. Lying in bed, Min Kyung called Hui-Oh. She blew her whistle and said it was an emergency. She missed him urgently. Hui-Oh hung up and showed up at her door like a handsome model. Min Kyung lay on the couch and shyly closed her eyes. He asked what it meant. She said she couldn't take her sleeping pills after drinking and felt scared. She asked him to stay until she fell asleep. Hui-Oh looked disappointed. He nervously asked what she meant last time when she invited him over for some ramyun, but when he looked up, she was already asleep. He leaned closer to look at her face and almost kissed her. Suddenly, Min Kyung opened her eyes and asked what he was doing. Hui-Oh froze. Then she kissed him, and the two ended up doing something unspeakable. Meanwhile, the single dog watched them, full of envy. The next day, Min Kyung just woke up and saw Hui-Oh busy making breakfast. Suddenly, someone knocked on the door. It was the women from the association. Hui-Oh quickly hid his shoes and ran into the room. Min Kyung carefully opened the door. The president told her they would patrol near the neighborhood tonight. Just then, the dog suddenly barked. The women got curious if there was a guest inside. Min Kyung nervously blocked the door and said no one was inside. After they left, Hui-Oh came out and said breakfast was ready. But outside, the women were secretly listening by the door. Before leaving, Hui-Oh awkwardly kissed Min Kyung a few times, then shyly left. That night, the patrol team gathered. Hui-Oh showed up too. The president joked and asked how he knew the time. He shyly said he saw everyone gathered, so he came. During the patrol, Min Kyung grabbed a suspicious man's phone, thinking he was filming women secretly, but they were actually a couple. Then she spotted another suspicious boy. He sat in a restaurant without ordering, then walked to the counter and took some money. Just as she was about to arrest him, she found out he was the owner's son. They patrolled all night, but found nothing. The next day, they went on their first official date. At the cinema, Hui-Oh kept feeling like they were being watched. Later, they went to a restaurant and ran into Hui-Oh's colleagues. The young cop kept saying how pretty Min Kyung was, which made her happy. He added that she was the prettiest among Hui-Oh's past girlfriends. He humorously told a story about a rich lady who had a big crush on Hui-Oh, emphasizing how popular he was with women. Hui-Oh warned him to stop talking nonsense. Min Kyung was a bit jealous, but she admitted he really was charming. One day, Hui-Oh got an urgent call from the station on his way to a date. The police got important information about the drug dealer. After going through a lot of documents, Hui-Oh discovered that 3 corrupt cops were in cahoots with the drug dealer. This explained why the dealer managed to escape during the last arrest operation. Meanwhile, a delivery man brought lunch and was curious about the case. Huio asked him to remember the dealer's appearance. At the same time, a suspicious man was watching Min Kyung. She looked back warily but saw nothing. The man was her evil ex-boyfriend, Seon Ho, who had recently been released on bail. The lawyer had warned him not to go near the victim, but he didn't take it seriously. Later, it was time for Min Kyung to walk her dog, and she was upset that Huio had forgotten their arrangement. While tying her shoes, the dog suddenly ran off and took the elevator by itself. She rushed downstairs to catch up, but when the elevator doors opened again, only the leash was left. She panicked and searched everywhere, eventually finding her dog barely alive. She immediately took it to the emergency room, but the situation seemed bad. When Huio got home, he found his ex-girlfriend at the door. She was there to give him a guarantee letter to give up the new house's ownership. Looking at the gift on the table, she was surprised he had a new girlfriend, as very few people would accept a man without a job and with anger management issues. Huio didn't want to argue with her anymore. He stood up to pack her things. Just then, Min Kyung anxiously knocked on his door and saw a strange woman. The mean woman first shouted, "Honey," into the room, then invited her inside. Min Kyung was at a loss. She went home and angrily threw the whistle on the floor. When Huio found out about the prank, he immediately sent his ex-girlfriend away and rushed to Min Kyung's house to explain everything. Min Kyung warned him to get lost before she called the cops. Huio calmly explained that he had met his ex after returning from the police station. It was their first meeting since they broke up. Min Kyung didn't believe him. She angrily slammed the door, injuring his hand. Huio ignored the pain. He just wanted her to know he wasn't lying. Min Kyung broke down in tears and said her dog was injured. She guessed her ex-boyfriend did it to warn her. Huio thought it was just her delusions, so he tried to comfort her. Min Kyung realized he didn't believe her. Huio said that maybe the dog accidentally ate something from a flower bed, since her ex was in jail. Min Kyung angrily kicked him out, shouting that all men were unreliable. The next day, Huio checked the security footage. He found a suspicious man who had hurt the dog and was stalking Min Kyung. Then his colleague brought Min Kyung's case file. After seeing her tragic past, Huio couldn't hold back his anger. He remembered the stalker from the cinema was Seon Ho. His colleague revealed that Seon Ho had bribed a lawyer and was released on bail. Huio immediately rushed home, but unexpectedly found Seon Ho planning to change Min Kyung's apartment locks. He chased him and called the police, but Seon Ho wasn't afraid. He even offered to show the sexy videos of Min Kyung. Huio fell for it and beat him up. Min Kyung arrived and tried to stop him, but accidentally got pushed down. Only then did Huio calm down. But she screamed and backed away, her eyes filled with fear. At the police station, Seon Ho explained he just wanted to apologize to his ex-girlfriend. He then sued Huio for intentional harm. Min Kyung also broke up with Huio because of his violent behavior. The next day, Min Kyung returned everything to Huio and walked past him like a stranger. Meanwhile, the delivery man arrived at an abandoned warehouse. He recognized the customer. It was the wanted drug dealer. Huio got the tip and immediately rushed over. He quietly entered the warehouse and easily subdued the drug dealer. Soon, the police arrived and found a large amount of illegal substances. The team leader hugged Huio and praised his actions. He said that as long as Min Kyung got the settlement letter, Huio could apply for reinstatement. Huio was confused. It turned out Min Kyung had decided to help him settle the assault case so that he could get his job back. Huio tried calling her, but no one answered. Meanwhile, Seon Ho was signing the settlement for the assault. Min Kyung also promised not to sue him, but just as she was about to leave, he suddenly got on his knees and apologized. Seeing the strange looks around her, she had no choice but to sit back down. No matter what Seon Ho said, Min Kyung firmly said she would never forgive him. As she stood up, she felt dizzy. Seon Ho had drugged her coffee. The cops tracked Min Kyung's location through her phone. Huio sped to catch up with them. However, Seon Ho wasn't scared. He even opened the car window and provoked Huio. Huio was furious. He risked everything to stop the car. Seon-ho tried to run, but Hui-oh jumped on the car and grabbed the hood. In the end, the car crashed into a flower bed. Hui-oh ignored his pain and rushed into the car, trying to wake up Min-kyung. Meanwhile, Seon-ho accidentally got into a police car and was arrested. When Hui-oh woke up in the hospital, he found Min-kyung sitting by his bed. He gave her the gift he had prepared for a long time. Min-kyung was moved. Hui-oh struggled to get up and personally put the necklace around her neck. The next day, Hui-oh happily left the hospital and rushed home, eager to see Min-kyung again. But as soon as he got out of the taxi, the women told him Min-kyung had just moved out. He immediately ran like Bolt and finally stopped Min-kyung at a crosswalk. He angrily asked why she moved without saying a word to him, but Min-kyung just reached out her hand and said, "Take care." Hui-oh couldn't believe she was leaving like this. Min-kyung explained that after everything, she couldn't date or fall in love normally. She didn't want to hurt him. She told him to take care of himself, then walked away without looking back. Hui-oh shouted that from now on, he would live like an alcoholic and beat anyone he saw. Just then, someone bumped into him. He quickly subdued the man. Min-kyung ran over, telling him not to get angry because of her. She said if he got hurt, she'd be angry too. Later, she found out that the man was a wanted criminal. Hui-oh shouted, "I love you!" and they kissed passionately. Soon after, Hui-oh returned to work at the police station. One peaceful weekend, he heard a familiar whistle. He rushed out and saw his beloved Min-kyung returning from her trip. Their happy life began.